Yemo bibi akwaba. Lawyer Martin Kpebu wabeka na mani hunu di esiye ewo oni OSP entem. Finally, na uti ensem na uti muze some like unse a planting na OSP any ni board and I say ni deputies etina se edwen ho because according to Martin Kpebu no was your allegation and also evidence against the OSP say he is corrupt. That is why Ujakin Ufrata Emane Koye I went to Yanchino. That's our evidence. He will never give to any of his subordinates. Or the Bemo no Ankasa OSP. Enti no ho wentwi na ekoba ya na ni ba na ho so no mo arrest no. No mo dina kwotena detention room. A omo ye lele la so mo ba so mo wi achi no. Na omo hia omo kan say bail condition na one landed property a eyo no nkasa ni dimu ensem na asem ya maji kamenka yenko ne yenkotie ensem a lawyer Martin Kpebu we ewo Alfredo Kanse ni show no eso ewo TV3 yenti sansem no measure so do comment betum na wa like idumode na wa share na foforo enye bia hwe yenti nsem bia ko ba beto so.
Your short was a policeman, Mr. J, came to tell Fatah Bayarga, the journalist and the cameraman, that summing up, I've told you not to conduct interviews here, so move further. That you see how we moved to the final point, and that was continuous. So move. So though he wasn't talking to me, I felt that look, as I said, I have solid evidence, so I don't want my case to snowball into side issues. You see, as you sit on TV, you know, sometimes people expect higher standards from you. So I saw that no, don't argue with the policeman. So you see quickly, though he wasn't talking to me, you see my hand, I'd say move, and we moved. Though he wasn't talking to me.
Yeah.
So when I was done with the interview, I came in. So I even expected, when I came back into the OSP yard, and the reason, let's be fair to the journalists, the reason the journalists were hesitant was that where we're standing, it's not labeled as OSP. It's an ECG facility. It's an ECG room with machines in there. I don't know what they are. Ordinarily, we say transformer, but I'm not an expert. So let's just say ECG facility with some machines in there.
Okay.
Good. So that's why the journalists were surprised that the policeman was driving us away. But I quickly said, no, just obey. And then we moved. So when I finished and came into the yard, the first person I met was Mr. J, the policeman. And then standing by the security post, he looked at me, I looked at him, then I passed. With hindsight, I think I expected him to commend me that, hey, Councillor, I wasn't even talking to you yet. See how you cooperated. He wasn't talking to me.
Right.
Yet I moved the journalist and the cameraman. So when I walked past Mr. J, maybe 2-3 steps, then I heard you. So you, then I turned. When I turned, it was a soldier. So I'll say a soldier because at that time, I didn't think that there was a second soldier. So a soldier said, you, I allowed you to park here, and then you decide to go out to make conduct media interviews. Next time, I'll not allow you to do that. So I shot back that, which laws have I broken? You can't prevent me. You don't have such rights. Because what have I done wrong? Then he kept quiet. So I continued to move. So by this time, you say maybe 5 meters down the line. Then I heard, as for me, then once again I turned. Then I saw another soldier. Then he continued. As for me, next time you come and do that here, I will show you, pan. And that's a military man, pointing fingers. I'll show you. That's the second soldier, not the first one. I'll show you. It was quite menacing. It was quite threatening. So, you know, naturally, the lawyer in me would not just keep quiet and go. I'm a lawyer. Lawyers, we are trained to ask questions. We are trained to, investigate matters. A lawyer is also an investigator. So I shot back that, what powers do you have? A lawyer is an investigator. Somebody is telling me that next time I'll show you, pan. You see, I want to say I'll show you pepper. Yeah, that's Ghanaian English. I'll show you pepper, right? So I tend to say, what powers do you have? You can't do anything. And instead of me to show me the powers, what law, etc., the next thing I knew, he said, I'm a stupid man. You see? We are debating.
I see. So you asked him the question about what power he has.
Yes, what power? He can't do anything. What is it? What power does he have? So it means that show me the law, whatever you're going to. He couldn't do that. You see, when his arguments are finished, then he will turn to insults. When a person cannot argue, he turns to insults. So he now said, you're a stupid man. So I looked at it. I also shot back that he's also stupid. He's an idiot. Yeah, then we kept trading stupid idiot. We traded that maybe 3-4.
Each other.
Yes, that one I'll say. But a distance of about 5 meters between us or more, minimum to be about 5 meters.
I see.
So then one of my lawyers came and grabbed me that we should go. And then we went inside.
Okay.
Yes.
I see.
And over there, I asked to make a report. So that was it. Nobody arrested me at that point. When we entered the reception, even on our way to the reception, it's quite a distance. From the security post to the reception, it can be at least 15 meters minimum. So on our way, we met a police lady coming out. She's one of the persons who will search you. So she'll search females when you get into the reception. Okay. And I told her, Madam, I'm coming to lodge a complaint against these soldiers. But she said nothing to me, and she walked towards the soldiers. So I entered. When we got into the reception, I told them I wanted to make a report against that soldier, not the two. To be clear, I don't have a problem with the first one because I asked him a question, he didn't answer. That's it. It's the second one, the short one.
I see.
So then at the reception, they said they will help me to make the complaint. It has to be a phone call, so I should sit. So after the protocols, we sat down. But by the time we're going upstairs to go and meet Mr. Abraham Ablomensa, that's the chief of staff of the OSP, at that time, I didn't even know he was the one we were to meet. No, but so let's say before we were going upstairs to meet the persons we were to meet, they still hadn't been able to help me make the complaint. So when we went upstairs and then we were ushered in, it turned out that the persons we met during our second invitation were the same person. That's Abraham Ablomensa. He's the chief of staff of the OSP, and then lawyer Albert Paddington. So when we sat down, did the normal protocols, then we said, no, the first thing to be addressed is that verbal abuse. The way the soldier has abused me, we want them to deal with it. Long story short, so they agreed and went down. They came back 45 minutes later and said that there are counter accusations against me. So since they don't have jurisdiction to investigate that, I should write my statement so that there will be a different administrative panel to deal with that issue. So I agreed. Then quickly I wrote my statement. Afterwards, now we came to the main business for the day, which is that, yes, you are here. We've asked you to come once again, the third time, to present us evidence of the corruption against Kisi Ejabe, etc. And we'll shortly go into at least some of the evidence. Today, I'll show you a bit more so that you'll be convinced that I'm not joking. At least at my age, I've done 18 years at the bar. So I won't come and make statements if I don't have any evidence at all. So then we told them, but Mr. Ablomensa, the last time we came here, he wasn't in the first meeting. So the second meeting, he was in charge. The first meeting, can you imagine? As part of their incompetence, the first meeting we went to, OSP brought Albert Akrugu. Albert Akrugu that are accused of conflict of interest, etc. And right now, there's a petition against him and Kisi Ejabe Ashraj. OSP presented Albert Akrugu as the man leading the charges to collect my information to go and investigate.
So you had concerns with that and you raised some of the
Yes, I said, Albert Akrugu, you're a lawyer, you should know. How can you come? I've named you already, so you can't. Then that's how come the first meeting ended. And then we also said we needed an independent body. You can't, you, Albert, you are a subordinate to Kisi, and the other officer on the first day is also a subordinate. So that's how come the first day the meeting ended, because they were not credible. I mean, they are not the credible persons to take my information. Then we came to the second meeting about a week later. And that meeting, that's the one Abraham Ablomensa, the chief of staff of the OSP, and lawyer Paddington met us. Then we raised the same objection that, look, both of you are subordinates to Kisi Ejabe. Kisi Ejabe is your boss. Look, if you exonerate him, we will say, but how can a subordinate investigate the boss? If you find him liable to, we'll say, hey, you have a beef to you have a beef with him, or you have an axe to grind with him. That's why you could find your boss liable. So whichever way, the optics don't look good. So please, let's find an independent body. So it was at the second meeting, not this Wednesday, that we pointed out that, okay, breaking it down in simple English, maybe let us meet the board. At least the board on paper are supposed to be independent of the special prosecutor. I mean, because they are not employees, that angle.
Right.
So that's for starters. But if we met the board, we would come and tell Ghanaians, these are the people we met. And if it turns out that Ghanaians know that, hey, this board member, he brought 10 people to Kisi Ejabin to employ there, etc. If we find out that they've begged favors from Kisi Ejabin, we'll disqualify them.
Okay.
So me, I know what to do. At least I'm a lawyer. You investigate step by step.
Right.
So we're willing to meet the board. Then they said, okay, we should go. So that was the second meeting. So when we went the third meeting, it was still the same lawyer Paddington and Mr. Abraham Ablomensa. So we said, but last week we came here, we told you that you are subordinates, you can't investigate your boss, blah, blah, and you've called us here. Then they insisted that they can do it. So we said, no, I will not give you the information. I will shortly give you a few here today so that you see that that's just a tip of the iceberg. So they said, no, they would not, for them, it's been decided that they should investigate what concerns the OSP, not the special prosecutor. To be fair to them, they now showed me the distinction that they are to investigate the matters concerning the office, not the special prosecutor himself. So I said, no, most of my allegations are against Kisi Ejabin, and that's how, and those allegations, because when the board, you see, the boss of an institution is the #1 ambassador. So though, like for Ghana, there are ambassadors properly so-called. President Mahama is the #1 ambassador of Ghana. So the head of an institution is ambassador. So when there are allegations against him, it affects the institution. So this distinction is like what we say, a distinction without a difference. So please, no, the value is the same.
Okay.
So that was the end. We said we'll not give them the information. Then Ablomensa stepped out and came back 15 minutes later with the policeman to arrest me.
I see. And that was...
And we'll soon show that they had no power to arrest me in this instance. OSP.
And they arrested you and took you where?
Yeah, so then they didn't even tell me. I didn't even get an opportunity to call my family. Handcuffed me. But before then, look, let's give 1 minute so that you see the sequence.
Right.
Before they handcuffed and took me away, what happened was that Ablomensa went out and came back about 30 minutes later and said that's after the arrest and after I'd written my statement. I wanted to obey quickly because that way you get bail. Kofi or ADG, you are here. If you cooperate ordinarily, you get bail. But if you argue too much, then you argue, they will come and tell the public that when they sought to go through, every lawyer knows that if they say they will arrest you, the next thing after that, generally, though it's not written in hard law, is that write your statement. But if the police are very busy after the arrest, they can grant you bail and then you write your statement later. But this one, you could see that they were on a mission, so don't argue. So I just told the lawyers, come on, let him do the arrest quickly. The policeman was at one. I said, come on, let him come and do. Well, I presume he's a policeman. He's yet to. I'm yet to know. So let's say the OSP officer. So I said, come on, come and do it quickly, so that I write my statement, so that I can ask for bail. So we didn't argue at all. So you see, that's Kpebu. No, you should know when to argue, know when to pick your fight. You don't just fight anywhere. You are in their custody. I mean, yes, practically in their custody. You won't get out, even if you argue 1,000 times. So quickly, he came and then he touched my shoulder. You are under arrest for so and so obstructing an officer, blah, blah. Then the rest, you to paraphrase, they will say, you are not obliged to say anything, but if you say anything, it will be written down and then presented in court as evidence against you, blah. So when they were done, they said, hey, yes, write your statement. Then quickly, I wrote my statement. So after the statement, grant me bail. Then Abraham Ablomensa said he's going to consult. Presumably his bosses. He's going to consult. So he went. Alberta Kugu, Sami Daku, and then Kisi Ejabin. So he went and then came back about 30 minutes later and said, yes, okay, they've agreed to grant me bail. But the condition is that I should bring a property in my name, landed property, in my own name. So it looked very ridiculous. I burst out laughing when I heard that condition, similar to Paul Adumotri's
landed property in your name.
Yes. You see how life, a few months ago, we were on Paul Adumotri's case. Somebody said, you see, now a few months down the line, Kpebu, you see, they've given you the same condition. The abuse of Kisi Ejabin and the OSP. So quickly, what happened was that, it looked very laughable. That, a soldier abuses me, I also reply, and now you're saying I should bring landed property. So we said, oh, please vary the terms. Then he said, okay, he will go and consult. He went and came another 15 minutes. You see the delay tactics. He came back another 15 minutes on variation of the bail terms and said, no, they are not willing to vary. So by now, it was around 6:10 p.m. So once I saw that they were not willing to vary, fortunately for me, I've always had an indenture in the office for the past 4 years. I know where it lies. So quickly, I told one of the my lawyers that I should go to the office. And my office is just, even if you are walking, about 10 minutes walk, if you are walking from OSP to my, so it's close. If you are driving, it's less. So quickly, Marcelinus Bia went to the office. But as soon as, when Marcel left, then Ablomensa went out again. He came about 3-4 minutes later to tell us that even if Marcelinus Bia brings the indenture, they need to verify it. And since it was past 6 p.m., they can't do that that Wednesday night. So they would rather send me into custody and continue tomorrow. Then we said, Ablomensa, Martin Kpebu, I'm always here. If you want to find me, you find me TV3, you find me in court, you find me in my office. OSP, you know my office, you've been delivering. How can I run out of Ghana because a soldier insulted me and I insulted? Hey, look, you see there. Mr. Kanse, are you surprised that they are they did this? And I'm not surprised because people who could allow Oforiatta to travel, they didn't know how to blow their whistle, do a common press statement. Ghanaians, Oforiatta is about to flee Ghana. You see a Jabin who couldn't do that. I'm not surprised that Ablomensa couldn't reason that. I would not abscond. So he said even if Marcelinus Bia brings the indenture, it can't work. So he told Mr. J, the policeman that I obeyed very well at the beginning, he told him to handcuff me. I can mention that he is a policeman because he was in police uniform and his name shows AJ. You know, usually they put only the surname, AJ. Sure. AJ. So AJ handcuffed me, and then next thing I knew, all the police for them to wait for myself to bring the indenture didn't work. So then they took me downstairs. And to add insult to injury, what they did was that the first soldier whom I asked the question to show me his authority for saying next time.
The one you exchanged the insults with?
No, the first one. The first one. Who did him? He now came. He was the one who came with his gun. It was the one who had to escort me. Oh, I mean, come on. So like now we are showing you where power lies. So we went through the elevator and then into a car. As I said, I was not allowed to call my family. We should be doing serious law reforms on that. You arrest a person, the first thing you have to do is let him call his family. Let him call his family. It must be law.
To be aware of what your whereabouts.
Yes.
Because I think that even...
But they've not put it in hard. Kofi, you and I went to law school. We're not taught, maybe today if you ask me, I can't find it in the law. So bring it more prominently clear that when a person... We are doing that for juveniles. We are doing that for juvenile justice. I've seen a draft bill where it is stated that allow the person, they should call the family. This one, so straight to the middle of nowhere because they didn't tell me where we were going. Then we sat in the car. So I protested that no, I don't see what soldiers are doing in OSP. So I can't have the soldier escort me. So when we got to the gate, Mr. J, the policeman, who was now the driver of the car, asked the soldier to get down. And then they brought a policeman. Hey, if you saw him, he's like the two soldiers combined. You see the way Ghanaians are fixated. Huge, tall, thick, tall. Now say Bermani. You know, we are so fixated about soldiers. If you saw the policeman, you see that, yes, like what I've been telling you. You know, in the police, they also have SWAT team. If it's strength you are looking for fiscal power and the rest. I'm telling you that policeman is twice. He's the soldier, the two soldiers combined. Is that one policeman?
So they didn't tell you they were taking you to a
they didn't tell me. Then they started driving, maneuvering through the traffic. Then it got to a point, once we got to Ridge Roundabout, there's a certain road leading to BNI headquarters. So I knew that, I couldn't be sure because you can use it and go to police headquarters. So let's say I still wasn't sure, but I thought that maybe it would be BNI. And lo and behold, because you get to BNI before you get to, that's the headquarters, before you can get to police headquarters. So they entered the BNI headquarters. Then the OSP officer, as I said, he's not wearing uniform. So I can say he's OSP officer. He now went in and then booked. There's a document, blah, blah, blah. So I even thought they were going to put me in that BNI cell. There's a BNI cell at the headquarters. Clients have told me that place is very warm. So a senior Kipo, Mr. Kipo, you know, coincidentally, Mr. Kipo and I attended St. Charles Minor Seminary. So senior, this is why we beg you. They say that cells in the headquarters is very hot. I have a client who left. I was just about writing a letter to him about last week when my trouble started. So, Mr. Kpebu, they say the cells in the BNI headquarters is too hot. The ventilation is very poor. Right, so I dreaded it when we entered there. Hey, my stomach started churning. I was like, yeah, my client told me that this place is warm. And I said, I'll write to Mr. Kpebu.
Now you're going to face it yourself.
Then thankfully, they didn't make me a light. So then we started the journey. So once we left there, it was clear to me that we are going to Kaokudi. And also from experience as a lawyer, I'm aware that the Kaokudi facility is far better. It's far better.
That's the National Intelligence Bureau facility.
Yes, the Kaokudi one. So, Mr. Kpebu, please, we beg you, the BNI headquarters there, that facility, improve it. Okay. So, then, listen, they took me to the Kaokudi place, and then we alighted, and then they took the handcuffs off, and then they had to process me to put me in the cells. Hey, they brought my gown. Hey, Charlie. But that's when you know that, yes, reality was beginning to dawn on me that, yes, today you go sleep here. But somehow, I was very confident
that...
So
they brought you a gown that you
have to, you have to
change your outfit
and wear the gown. Brought me fresh
box. We went the last time.
The back one. So at the back. They bring you boxes and then, hey, Charlie. Then they put the things down. Then they say I should sit. But of course, before they start changing, you have to go through process. They will process you. You have to fill a lot of biodata, a lot. They will gather a lot because they need to know who they are putting in custody. Everything, your wife and children, your hometown, everything, plenty things. Your parents, whether dead or alive, you have to write where they were. Hey, Charlie, voluminous. So we did. Then afterwards, so there were more processes they were doing. So long story short, they were still in their processes. And then, all this while, I was hopeful that I would be removed, that I'll be released, because it was ridiculous that Kisi Ejabi was just trying to show me where power lies. And you see, I was a bit traumatized. I was like, so a lawyer power can be put in charge of a state institution and he will be behaving like a non-lawyer. That I have a case against you. If Kisi Ejabi, you think I've defamed you, sue me in court, let's go and deal. You can't use your police powers to arrest me, Kpebu. So I was shocked. And Kisi Ejabi made first class in University of Ghana. So I was like, And we used to respect Kisi. Hey, those days when we were in Kwafu War, Kisi was intelligent. Everybody knew that this intelligent law student. So even at the time of his appointment, even though Martin Kpebu pointed to conflict of interest because Kisi Ejabi is a lawyer to Gabi Ochredako and Oforiata, Kisi Ejabi worked for Oforiata. But because we were in school, he was a year ahead, and everybody knew that he was intelligent. At the time of his appointment, he made the first class. I was like, oh no, the guy actually be shocked. He will rise above it. Hey, I didn't know that Amidu would be right. I didn't know. And people will know Kisi Ejabi personally. They met you and say, you people, you don't know this boy. When you say you have...
So the contributors will have to leave us at some point. So I want to, in fact, having listened to Martin Kpebu to this point, you had intimated earlier in the year, in the week, that the OSP is not an octopus, and that his police powers to fight corruption doesn't include what happened to Martin Kpebu. They came out with an explanation a day after you put out that. Does that suffice?
No, it doesn't. And we need to make this very, very, very clear. One, the OSP is not a plenary authority. What it means is they don't have wide powers. Give me a bit of latitude. You see the talk in Parliament about it's unconstitutional and it wasn't properly constituted, etc. I was part of the discussions that led to the OSP. It was a wider effort.
In the establishment of the OSP.
A wider effort to deal with the corruption problems we're having. It really got into gear around President Kufuor's time, etc. And out of that, we got, the surcharge and disallowance. We got RTI. We got, all kinds of things, done. Point is this. In that process, there was no room in the Constitution to form any new institution to do prosecution apart from the AG. But the AG had consistently failed for almost a century. And it was clear to us that you can't sit in cabinet and prosecute your own colleagues. What I want to say is there was a lot of discussion. So this parliamentary, stuff we had this week about its unconstitutional, it was discussed. I think you were part of some of those discussions too. And that is why we took part of the Attorney General's powers and donated it to that office and then wrapped it up in independence. So number one, the OSP is not unconstitutional. But the point that has to be made is, when you take somebody's powers and give it to somebody, it was for a limited purpose. It is on the first page of the act that established the OSP. I put it on Facebook, and go and look at it.
Right.
It is specific for anti-corruption issues and related matters. Now, in pursuance of that, they are given some police powers, not plenary police powers. So indeed, I am saying here, and I'm asking Sami Dakun, who I'm bantering with on Facebook, they didn't have any jurisdiction to arrest Martin Kpebu.
They didn't have any jurisdiction.
Oh,
Zero.
absolutely.
They didn't have any jurisdiction. Look, Martin Kpebu said somebody is corrupt. He said, you are inept. Please, if you don't have the skin to hear criticism from citizens, don't take public office. Don't go there. It is Martin Kpebu's right as a citizen to say whatever he wants to say to anybody, with all due respect, from President Mahama down to anybody in public office. If you are offended, sue him in defamation. In fact, if, with all due respect, even if he insults you, it is not a crime. And we don't have time to go into all these things, but you must understand that these are the things that the Constitution does for a liberal society. So please, sue him and let him answer. Now, when he makes accusations of corruption against you, in fact, his responsibility is to make those petitions to the president. So I say here, the OSP had zero jurisdiction to even invite Martin Kpebu. By the way, I'm part of Martin Kpebu's legal team.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just for disclosure.
And our leader is lawyer Agbeshi Jakwasu, the former bar
I just
president.
wanted to clear that.
Right.
I wasn't, but the point is, some of us advised him not to go.
Yes.
All right. He said, look, let me go. It doesn't spoil anything. I said, fine, that's fine. Anyway, then he comes there as we speak. We don't know what charge. He hasn't been charged. Confirm if you have
He has no. It's a caution
You
statement.
say he's not under investigation.
He's not.
But
It's
the
the
OSP says
altercation.
that you are being investigated.
No,
At least
it's
that's
the-
what Samida
Invest-
No,
For
it's
what?
false. It's false.
That is why I'm
No.
saying, what is the charge? What is his offense? With what jurisdiction or authority was he arrested?
Kofi,
Was
can
he
I come and brief it? Sami is talking about the earlier, the one that should come and give information to them. That's the one he's been mistakenly calling under investigation.
When we talked,
So-
he said, you have been invited.
yes.
Okay? It
To
means
provide information.
invited to assist
Yes.
the OSP in
Yeah.
investigation. No man has a responsibility to assist a state institution.
I see.
Okay? If you want me to help you, fine.
By your own voluntary.
Offer it voluntarily. And that's why we said, look, we know what is going on and there's a tussle between
As a
you.
duty
So
of
be
the
careful.
a citizen
Yes.
under Article 41,
So
it's
then
a
he goes
duty,
there.
but it's not a crime if I don't do it.
When he goes there, in fact, there was even an issue about the number of lawyers, etc. And I was like, so what if I also, and everybody came?
Yeah.
Point is, then he gives an interview. And then somebody says he's obstructing. What was he obstructing? And if he's obstructing, okay, is it within the rules, the powers of the OSP to deal with that? So look, there are a lot of things to say. And for me, my interest is really that we don't ride on this to give a dog a bad name and hang it, because it's taken a lot of work for us to get this OSP thing done. And it's, however, going into this argument about scrapping the whole office.
But I just
Please.
want to, before you get there, there's been a question about whether or not it is within the OSP's powers to investigate itself. So Martin Kpebu makes this allegation against the OSP, and it is the OSP that is investigating the allegations made by Martin Kpebu against that same office and the person.
Okay,
Is it
there's a misunderstanding there.
Right in law.
By the Constitution, petitions go to the president. And the proper investigation is done according to the Constitution, not by the OSP. But every institution has a right to investigate allegations made against it as an administrative process.
Okay.
All right? So indeed, if the OSP did not have authority per se to investigate and make any decision concerning the kind of allegations that Martin Kpebu had made. Martin Kpebu says OSP is the
Except
SP
that after its removal, we can do a criminal investigation.
That's another matter.
Yes.
Okay. My point on the question is, it says SP is corrupt and whatever. That office did not have any constitutional right to make a determination on that issue.
I see.
You see, and if Martin Kpebu was scurrilous, reckless, and defamed Mr. Kisi Jabin, who we all respect as a good criminal law scholar, then he can take him on personally. So as an institution, I repeat, the OSP had no jurisdiction in this matter, to the point where they proceed to arrest, detain him, and then all the things that happen. But again, like I said, the major issues are that we don't use this to kill something that has taken a lot of work to be done. It is not an unconstitutional office. It is a proper office. It is part of a larger architecture. There are others that are older than it that have done less than it. And if we have a problem with the special prosecutor, we shouldn't have a problem with the office of the special prosecutor. It is a necessary office. We need to keep
when I
it.
spoke to Professor Martin Kpebu, who presided over the entire exercise in Parliament on that night, you watched that interview, he said that upon hindsight, even though he presided over the process in Parliament, passing this act that established the Office of Special Prosecutor, he thinks that the office has outlived its usefulness. So, rather, that prior argument of the office not being needed in the architecture of the fight against corruption, and rather we strengthening the Director of Public Prosecution's office and then also the AG's office to do the work of the OSP, he thinks now it has more grounds to consider.
So, respectfully, Onukwa, that argument came up in those days. And it was well debated and well settled. Look, we have had the AG's office for over 100 years. Consistently failed, not because there were bad people there. There were structural issues there. And in the discussion, the decisions had been made that, look, the better thing to look, there's a lot of legal stuff that goes on in government. The government does contracts, multi-million-dollar deals and whatever it is, has to be advised. A lawyer has to do that. That has been put under the Attorney General. The government has to prosecute everybody in this country that falls foul of the law. That has been put under the Attorney General. The presidency, which is a temporary office, you elect a president every 4 years, you go and come back. That presidency needs legal advice. The presidency as an executive is different from the state as the administration. The state is a wider body, okay? Now, that has also been put under the Attorney General. The person is an appointee of the president and a minister, sometimes Minister of Justice, also there. It's a member of, it's too much. The country has evolved, things have become complex. So the conclusion was that, look, we should have a Solicitor General, somebody who advises government on non-criminal issues. The contracts, all these electricity things that we end up with judgment debts and whatever it is. Sometimes it's time. You need somebody to focus on that. That should be somebody independent, has a term of office, does the work. And then somebody who now is called the Director of Public Prosecutions, who is prosecuting everybody, and it's too much. So they've given some to SNIT, they've given some to police, they've given some to IOCO. We should properly set up a public prosecutions office that does prosecutions and does it well, separate from a member of cabinet who is appointed by the president, because it is clear to us after 100 years or so of trying that somebody cannot come out of a team appointed by the president to prosecute his own people. And we know by experience in this country that a lot of the corruption comes from somehow the executive system. It's the politicians and their friends. So let me make this point and make it clear, because it was very obvious to those of us who were in the beginning. The politicians have never liked the OSP idea. From the beginning, they didn't like it. They made all the arguments they've made. It's the same political process and everything. Then, finally, when we resolved that issue, they said, okay, and that's where Senior Michael Kpebu comes in. They reluctantly had to yield to the superior argument that, look, we can't continue doing the same things.
Right.
Now, so all these things were there. And there were other things. This is part of why we led for the Auditor General to deal with some of the search. Let me just explain a bit. You have internal audit agency. For preventing corruption, the internal auditors had to do their work. Okay, we have to strengthen that. That is a work ongoing. If that happens, the Auditor General has to catch the malfeasance. When they catch the malfeasance, recently I was talking to Mr. Domelo and said, look, out of Public Accounts Committee, straight, everybody should go through IOCO, all right, DPP, and then Special Prosecutor. Now, to strengthen that, we fought for RTI. Because things were happening. I went to court to say, look, you need to give us information on bus branding. They refused to. The court ruled in our favor. We got RTI. It's a huge architecture we are dealing with. The OSP was pushed forward and prioritized because executive corruption was terrible. That is also what led the World Bank to start pushing government to put in this causing financial loss law. There's so much that has happened in the past 20 years. So look, when one thing happens over my brother Martin Kpebu, and all of a sudden people want to use that to slash down a lot of work that has been done. let me say here and now, this country needs the OSP. If we don't want the people, then we need to change them. Building institutions is not a 1 day or 2 day or 10-year affair. Some of these institutions are over 100 years old. They are still there. Yoko has been there all these years. Okay? Why haven't we called for their scrapping? It is because it is touching them. So look, all due respect to some of my friends in parliament who were making those arguments, we'll meet and we'll talk about it. But these issues have been debated sufficiently. The OSP has not failed. It is a work in progress, and it is a victim of its own high expectations. People are expecting so much out of the OSP. I was one of the first people who criticized the OSP over the Kenoforiata issue on another platform.
Right.
And said that they should go and prosecute him in absentia, even though he was my own friend and mentor. Okay, people said I said Kenoforiata shouldn't come to the country. No, I said his presence here was not necessary, and I didn't understand why the OSP was not going forward when it had the powers in law to do so, to prosecute him. It led to all kinds of things. And that is what Martin is taking up on, and saying that, look, you shouldn't have allowed them to go anyway. When I said they should prosecute in absentia, there was a whole discussion about whether absentia prosecution was possible in this country. Today, as we are speaking, the prosecution in absentia is proceeding. After so much talk, a year of no action. And that's what Martin is talking about. The USP, there's a reason why you were put there. And please, get down and do your work, stop the talking and act. And now when he says that he has even other information, I haven't accused him of any other thing. Let me say, to his benefit, the OSP has been very useful. In a few years back, people plan to take up Tema oil refinery. By now, would have lost it as a country. They were going to basically take it up and buy it for nothing. It is the OSP we went to. I led. We went to. He wrote letters, stopped things. And that's why Tema oil refinery is there. So there are positives, there are benefits.
So would you say
that
with the work of the OSP over the
OSP
period, it justifies its existence?
The OSP existence is extremely justified. Look, even people talk about his budgetary allocations and whatever it is. Look, if the OSP becomes fully functional, and I say so because there are so many things that are left to be done, they will save us multiples. Look, you know how much one corruption case cost us? So please, even now, I think the OSP is doing good. We just want it to do more. Like I said, it's a victim of its own high expectations. Why are we not putting the same pressure on Yoko? All right? And people talk about the Attorney General, we should go back to the Attorney General. Insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. That Attorney General, that whole office should be reconceived. All right? There are very good men there. I know them. But they are handicapped. And it's not because they don't want to do their job. So please, let us go forward to do the things that we need to do to finish this work that we've started, because we still have a problem with corruption in this country. PPA, okay, is part of the setup that led to this, public procurement, so that you prevent these things. PPA has had its problems. Have we called for the abolition of PPA? We should strengthen PPA, okay, jail the people who are messing around there, okay, and make sure it works.
Well, Professor Michael Kpebu
so that's what we should do.
Proposal of scrapping in a vacuum. He says, strengthen the Director of Public Prosecution and also the Attorney General, and they can do the work of the OSP. Even though these were arguments that were advanced during the process of the establishment of the office. Now he says there's some reason to it.
The history will show, one, the auditor, the Attorney General's office is the largest law firm in Ghana. It is the most resourced law firm in Ghana. The people who work in the Attorney General's office averagely are paid better than people in private law firms. Okay? This strengthening argument, we've heard it over and over again, and a lot has been done. Zero. Nothing will make it change because of the basics. All right? Like I'm saying, a president sits at an executive apex, appoints ministers, including one of them who is a prosecutor. And that is in the Constitution. They are bound to do that. That one person cannot turn around and prosecute his own friends and his own colleagues. And let me tell you, today as we speak, the good men who are at the AG's office today, in the last 8 years when people had all kinds of problems and they were in court, when they came in, they issued a series of nolle prosequis. And all those people are free today. Who tells you that the next AG will not issue a series of nolle prosequis for all this series of people who are being, prosecuted
but when
today?
your special prosecutor allows Ofuriatta to run, the value is the same.
Hold on.
When you see the allegations, it's worse. Please, Kofi.
I hear what you are saying, but the point is, you see, a special prosecutor is not the same as the AG.
Oh, it's the same value. It's the same value. We're human beings at the end.
Okay. But you get my point? My point is, we've tried it. And like I said, the AG's office is over 100 years old. And this strengthened them so that we've strengthened and done whatever it is. structurally they are not capable, okay, of doing some of these things. And even if they did, the next round they will come and issue knowledge for us requires. If we set up an independent prosecution entity separate from the executive, which other people have done, okay, it is more likely that we'll succeed. And the OSP actually, much as they have not succeeded, it's only 7 years old. Give them time. One of these days we'll get a sound, sane, inert, stable, effective person there, and we will be happy that we did what we did. We definitely shouldn't go back to the old system that has failed.
Well, Governmental is a private legal practitioner. Kofi is going to leave us in a bit. But, Lord Jitamaklo, so I'm separating the issues from what happened to involving Martin Kpebu on Wednesday night, and then the call. So we got into the calls for the scrapping, but let's go back to exactly what happened to him, the ordeal he has just narrated to us, and the fact that, as has been established by Kofi Bento, that it had no basis in law.
Okay, so
this experience of Martin Kpebu on Wednesday night.
So once again, good morning to our viewers. Because all through my life, I've always been on the side of, I've always been the opposite side of the police and law enforcement officers. My sympathies are always to persons who have any brush with the law. And I've always maintained that as for a brush with the law, it can happen to anybody. In fact, in my maybe a little of 12 years practice, I've seen police officers getting arrested, prosecuted, and some convicted. I have seen all kinds of things happen. In fact, our history will tell you that by 1984, the special prosecutor then, Appiah had to run away to London because as the special prosecutor at that time, he was found to have taken money on his investigation on Kowu's motors.
I see.
And therefore ran. And so you notice that the authority for the proposition, that, you know, our criminal jurisdiction, whether or not it's territorial or extraterritorial, was a defining moment in the Appiah and the Republic, because after he took the money in his Ghana Commercial Bank London branch, you know, account, and he was to be prosecuted, his claim was that, hey, the money was received in the London branch. And so the crime didn't happen in Ghana. And therefore, our court did not have jurisdiction over him. And that was when the court had to make a pronouncement on that. At the time when he was the special prosecutor, my senior Asasi Jima was his deputy. Mr. Bright Akwete became a special prosecutor. Eventually had to run away to the Gambia. Our political history has the benefit of experimenting this concept of special prosecutor. Now, in the specific case of our brother Martinamidu, they are all Martins.
Exactly.
Is that I sympathize with him and what he went through, the ordeal. I think it was not necessary. I also think that the process should have been handled with a bit of tact. Extreme bit of tact. And I'm sure that if those tacts were applied, matters would not have degenerated to that. I have a personal principle in public office. You see, when you are in public office, you must clearly identify persons who can create problems for you. Yes. And have a strategy of avoidance. It is not because you can't fight them, because they have nothing to lose.
True.
In the scheme of affairs, my senior Martin Kpebu is a private legal practitioner. That's what he does. I'm not sure he has any interest of working in the public service. His is public advocacy. And so when such a person comes on your case, yours is to handle it with sobriety and extreme tact. You do that not because you can't fight. Because sometimes you must, as it were, put much premium on your personal peace of mind over every other thing. Look, if you, and as a result of these matters, what I had to do was to go back for the parliamentary debates. on the establishment of the office of the special prosecutor. I really wanted to appreciate the discussions and the conversations that animated the decision to set up the office. So I went back to look at the parliamentary debate, right, on the 26th day of October 2017. The committee's report, the statement by Gloria Kufu, the statement by Chairman Sabunsu, the statement by Mahama Yariga, the then minority leader Haruna Idrisu, my senior Roxin Eche Dafia Makbo, what Mahama Yariga said during the debate, what Chairman Sabunsu said during the debate. And I look after 5 years or 6 years of the, from 2017, of the establishment of the office to date, and I say that, look, this country is a very interesting republic.
Tell me why.
We are simply just cyclical. We go back, forth, back, forth. That's what we do in this country. Look, all these things that we are talking about today were arguments that were properly canvassed, right? But you see, something unique happened during the debate. It was a statement made by one MPP MP, Asamoah. And what Asamoah sought to do was to give a historical perspective and why we are where we are and why there was the need to even set up this office even in the first place. And one of the things that he uncovered, that as early as 1957, right? As early as 1957, there has always been this conversation whether or not we needed an independent prosecutor, independent of the Attorney General.
Yes.
And at that time, the leader of government business, Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, was faced with the same thing. And incidentally, he came to Parliament to tell Ghanaians what actually the case was. And I just want to read a portion of that. That's Mr. Asamoah or Honorable Asamoah. Mr. Speaker, in the days of 1957, there was a dispute whether the office of Attorney General should be separate or otherwise. And if one reads the submission of the then leader of government business, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, when he was proposing the constitutional amendments, when he was proposing the constitutional amendment, a critical thing that Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah raised was that it is ideal to have an independent person. So remember that the Attorney General at that time was Geoffrey Bing. Kpebu, you remember?
Yeah.
Geoffrey Bing, an Irish, who was our Attorney General. So that at least the whole idea of political coloration and the fear will go away. However, by 1960, we have moved back into the appointment of politicians to occupy the office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice. So this conversation that we are having in this 2025 is a conversation that happened as early as 1957. In fact, Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah appeared in Parliament on the 12th of November 1957 on this same conversation. We are back to square one.
Well,
look, I will tell you, in the specific case of this special prosecutor, look, when the idea came up, it was actually in the MPP manifesto to set up an independent office. And the history is simple. If you recall, the first time we received or experienced a change in government was the year 2000. So President Kufuor now comes in. So when President Kufuor came in, he appointed Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo as the Attorney General. In his parliamentary confirmation, he raised that issue. Because at that time, the NDC has raised the possibility of witch hunting of NDC appointees or J. Rawlins's appointees. So it was a topical issue. So then, when he became Attorney General, with the then serious fraud office, SFO, started the investigation into the quality grain, among other issues. So the then NDC raised the issue that it is only former NDC appointees that were being targeted for investigation. So for the entire 8-year rule of President Kufuor, the only MPP or quote-unquote Kufuor appointee that was investigated and prosecuted was Malam Issa. Even him, he was a PNC person that was taken on board. 2, his lawyer in that matter, I think, was Senior Ambrose Derry. Subsequently, Ambrose Derry became the deputy AG. So with all that confusion, the whole argument was that, look, let's have an independent special prosecutor who will handle such matters. Because when Mills also became president, he used SFO. And in the use of the SFO, I recall Nanaya Osafo challenged the powers of the SFO at that time with his lawyer, Godfrey Diebu Adame. So based on that court challenge, President Mills, of blessed memory, decided that, okay, then let me beef up the powers of the SFO and now turn it into the Economic and Organized Crime Office. And that is how the SFO changed into Yoko. That is what resulted in that formation. Then came the special prosecutor that we have. You see, in the NPP manifesto and during the debate in Parliament, the NDC MPs raised this issue that they don't see the need for a new office without strengthening the existing office. However, and in fact, in the words of Haruna Idrisu, if you look at the debate, he made the point that the impression is being created out there that the NDC is afraid of the office of special prosecutor because the appointees of President Mahama, who had just left office, were corrupt. And so the only basis why they will oppose that office is because of their corruption. So Haruna Idrisu said, look, the people Akufo-Addo is governing with were not angels. They were persons, because by October, there were already scandals involving the Akufo-Addo administration. All those conversations came up. It was that which resulted finally in the passage of the office. I've always maintained that when you set up an office of this nature, the first thing that you need is to give it KPIs. Key performance indicators. And the occupant. And the reason is simple. Once you give the occupant KPIs, what you do is to hold him. Another critical issue that I want to just draw your attention to had to do with whether the Director of Public Prosecution should rather not be elevated with all the powers of independence, so that the said person will only focus on criminal prosecution but elevated to the status of a justice of the Court of Appeal with the same privileges and conditions of service, particularly security of tenure, so that the Attorney General will work with the Director of Public Prosecution, but the person will not be under his control and direction, instead of a separate office. All these arguments, because if you look at the whole of Africa, imagine, I'm sure your research will show, in the whole of Africa, they don't have the office of special prosecutor. What they have is the office of independent Director of Public Prosecution. South Africa has it, and many other African countries. Nigeria rather turned it into the EFCC. That's what Nigeria did with the EFCC arrangement. Now, so that argument had been canvassed, where the view was that elevate the DPP to that status, so that the DPP can work independent of the Attorney General at every material point in time. And that is how we came to where we are. So honestly, on that evening...
so that's what Professor Michael Quay says, that, you know...
When I heard all of Professor Michael Quay commentary...
His premise, his submission on the fact that from 2017 till now, with the work and the function of the work so far in the fight against corruption. They haven't done much. And to the extent that we are seeing all of these excesses involving Martin Kpebu and others, the argument of strengthening other existing institutions like the DPP and the AG to do the work of the Attorney General, in his view, makes sense now, even though he presided over the entire exercise in Parliament.
You see, what we should not do is to allow some people to rehabilitate their abysmal performance in public office through some of these advocacies.
What do you mean?
We know the record of Michael Kpebu as
what?
Speaker of Ghana's Parliament.
But he's expressed his views.
Look,
what do you mean?
his Parliament is the worst since 1992. The Parliament Okwe superintended on is the worst we've had since 1992.
What are you talking about being
It was
the worst? After the work they've done
it was
with the
that,
OSP?
listen, it was that Parliament that failed to hold the Akufo-Addo administration to account the reason for our economic challenges today. The Okwe Parliament. We saw the DF Anand Parliament. We saw Bamford-Addo Parliament. We saw the Do Ajaho Parliament. And we are seeing, for me, I think one of the best parliament we've seen is the Bagben Parliament between 2021 and 2024. That was accountability at its, peak.
Because of the numbers.
No, the number dynamic also aided. But I'm saying that parliament that Speaker Bagben superintended upon was one of the best when it comes to parliament performing a countervailing function within our democratic space. So, with the greatest respect to Professor Michael Kpebu, his advocacy is regrettably, in fact, it is against corruption. In fact, it is against the fight against corruption. Because you see, and I will pray that President Mahama doesn't fall into this political trap.
The political trap of what exactly? Like doing
scrapping
scrapping the office.
It's a political trap.
You are for the OSP. That's the office.
The office can exist independent of the occupants. We can draw the distinction. And you see, in the wisdom of the makers of the law at that time, they realized that you can have an occupant who will become an octopus or even a monster. And so they pegged the conditions of service to that of a justice of the Court of Appeal. And so that if he misconducts himself, he is subjected to the rules governing superior court judges. And also, Parliament did something very profound. To give the occupant a non-renewable term, fixed 7 years. After that 7 years, it matters not who you are. It's non-renewable. You can't do anything. You have to go home. Unlike the justices of the Court of Appeal, that once you are appointed, if you are appointed at age 50, until you get 70 years, you'll be there. This one, Parliament cleverly, circumscribed the law to say that after 7 years, you have to go home. For me, it was a clever thing to do. So that if you have a special prosecutor who had become overly, abusive of that office, that can be controlled. Two, most importantly, the office is subject to Article 146. Why? Article 146 proceedings have been removed used to remove even constitutionally independent office holders. Electoral Commission, SHRAJ, and even now a Chief Justice of the Republic. So Parliament, in creating this law, provided enough safeguards in the law to check excesses.
So with these
to check abuse.
These petitions against Kessie Jabeng that the presidency has acknowledged,
is the proper
three
forum.
of them.
Is the proper forum to deal with that issue. Because you see, I have this view that is the rule of evidence. That's what our democracy permits. The rule of evidence. I can sit and use your platform and say, Alfred is also and so. At the end of the day, you'll be subject to the rudiments of what? Evidence. Show the evidence. anybody that has evidence that Mr. Kisieja.
So that is it. And according to story now or narrative, you know, uni hobia obeka say a goodie, but na a serious thing to the extent say second soldier man be or no, that's second military officer be. Ebien na no catch and say you are stupid. Oh, the panyine ntisao. I guess the soldier man no ni lawyer Kpebu onim no na lawyer Martin Kpebu ha ni mu kuruma. Me am yes bi. E me ba ye political enclave nuclear enche kra no. Martin din and I know what he does. Into being him lawyer Martin Kpebu if only say oh ya ban ni pa na say onim say the Ghana your politics is equal. You know lawyer Martin Kpebu is what one of the most strongest activists Akufo-Addo Apenso or criticizing it very very well. Anyo no nko Mahama galamsey issue so or criticize or kana even Mahama the first time our buy 2016 2014 2015 he was one of the people or kasa he speak vehemently against that administration. You get it? And you know Martin Kpebu no bia yebeka say or ye corrupt in a way say aban bi ba so mani sika anasa oji adamudie bi ansa wakasa ma aban no. Nti nsem na woka no enye just ensem keke na mum it goes beyond what you are thinking. And I know say this is a deliberate attention and that's a deliberate actions from the office of the special prosecutor why na been say he will intimidate, he will make sure lawyer Martin Kpebu pays it with very you see sometimes Ghana won OSP we know so it is a wo kind asema some kind of dear polado much and ram me share polado much na or react to Kpebu in the arrest na nyumbia no dia to ase and me sere ya me say hey akwa we polado much or no timi defend obi a timi ka sika no kwa no na eyi sika. So to be frank, that office of the special prosecutor, they be a cancer assembly. Say amfi honoma Ghana sebi alleged a nkofo a yedi atoto omo so say omo ye corrupt, omo ye say no. They will work freely. They will work freely without inviting them say jebe na wo ye aduma saying like aban na twam no uduma die ni saying what was your position, what is the money just accountable ni sa ni manema no enkoso because ono OSP na nkasa no onim say ono ne nam ho no atente huti anto so there is no way obekoso kuhura akotira ja amana hye into ne nam ho sa na aban na kɔ ne wie na wapɛ ne baabi akɔtena obon sɛ wandi ebe sɔre no ɔsɛ an sɛ die NDC MPP wɔ so me beto ankwa no ma because no mu intimidate me obɛka kyerɛ Ghana for sɛ MPP for man kwan ma ne nyɛ ne dwuma so kan 2023 kan nti saa pressure we e ba no so enye nwa sɛ going forward no as one of the strategy obɛba montin so abɛka sɛ resign and as obɛka sɛ why say because of say MDC for so by also all fighting corruption, they intimidating him because also acquire arresting Obi will make claims against him. And you know, going forward now, you should watch out. Either say OSP Beba Montin so Abeka say Jumano say dear or Mamma Jinism because MPP for Tatan, NDC for so Tatan. And it is a Ghana for who say we J Jumana Mama obey me and you know it because already a corner. I'm so man kasi onim di oye into for that matter no opese oye bibia na Ghana for who say adwuma na oye but meanwhile no the main target no aye Keno Furata aye nim say ka Keno Furata dey be Ghana hand ka OSP udin ebe cleared people will clear your name in a sense say you are not corrupt, you are a very fair gentleman doing your work very well but what na kuro mama Furata timi kotena Washington DC kasa oyare obeba November obeba September obeba hwan ewi akiri a Keno Furata so mba aden a oye passport oye citizenship wo America etinka ban ben pa na wapa so a observe a ne mu key minister te sɛ finance minister fotosanfo sika nyinaa ono na na ɛhyɛ n'ase contract nyinaa ono na no ɔma orders to the extent sɛ otumi kɔ another ministry bi te sɛ ɛyɛ what do quality bi wo yɛ den bi te sɛ ɛyɛ what do quality mo kan sɛ trade and industry ministry ana Alan Kwadwo Kyerɛmanten na ɔda no ewi akyire no otumi kɔ hɔ no ɛkɔ ɔda sɛ ɔmo nyɛ den ɔmo sign contract bi because of ɔno yɛ finance minister and he knows very well sɛ obetumi agye sika no bi adi nti saa nneɛma wei nyinaa wɔ no a ɛwɔ sɛ OSP no ɛba na obeyi ne ɛyɛ ofurata ba na obeyi ne ho ano but onya nyɛɛ nti no ɔno anim deɛ ɛkɔ nti sɛdeɛ lawyer Martin Kpebu kan na ɛyɛ saa na ɛteɛ and anya afei ne yɛte story no ɔkan no wɔ office hɔ no bra na ɔyɛ interview ɔne Joy News one of the reporters ɔno kasa wɔ hɔ no ɛna ne nso ɔbɛ repeat it tells you sɛ na ɛnya agodie so it has just started yɛn nyinaa yɛhwɛ yɛkyerɛkyerɛ yɛhwɛ sɛ OSP no ɔbɛ resign o sɛ ɔbɛtoa so sɛ ɔbɛyɛ den o me deɛ meyɛ somafoɔ mede video yi bɛsom wɔ nti kyerɛ w'adwene wɔ comment section nim bye bye.